Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location in the heart of the great state of Colorado. Here we speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us God. My name is Nicholas Razo, and without further ado, I present to you our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, where faith, family, and freedom aren't just slogans, they're the foundation. I'm your host, Hugo Chavez Ray, and along with your co-host, or my co-host, I should say, Nicholas Razo, my millennial co-host. Today, we're cutting through the fog on one of the most hot flashpoints that we have available today, and of course around the world: Iran, Israel, and President Trump's role in what's coming next. We are your conservative voice for truth here in the Centennial State. Let's dive into some of the details of this dangerous situation in the Middle East, which could have repercussions around the world. We all know about the mess President Biden left President Trump regarding Iran, starting with the $6 billion that he unfroze for the mullahs in Iran, not to mention the pallets of cash President Obama sent them before leaving office. That money was promptly converted into resources for their proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and they were strict instructions to carry out attacks against Israel. Meanwhile, our brave American service members are being targeted by Iranian-backed militias, and we're not seeing real consequences. But let me be crystal clear. Iran is not just a regional threat. They are an ideological regime committed to death to America, death to Israel, and death to Western civilization. There's no way to sugarcoat that, folks. That's their intent. And let me also clarify that this is the radical mullahs, not the good people of Iran, because as far as we know, most of the people in Iran do not want to live under these folks, and hopefully this situation is going to lead to their liberation. So they chant this in their streets. They write it in their policies. They fund it with every single barrel of oil they sell. And yet, there's some in our government and citizenry who pretend that they can be reasoned with. Neville Chamberlain comes to mind, for those history buffs that know who that is. But guess what? The deep state knows it also. And that's why they're pulling every trick in the book, from courtrooms to gag orders to political smears, all trying to derail President Trump's agenda every chance they get. They call it resistance. I call it despicable and treasonous. They know President Trump is the only one who has actually stood up to Iran, who has stood firm with Israel, and who won't let America be dragged into another endless war because of weakness at the top. Let's call it what it is. This is a battle for peace through strength, or chaos through appeasement. That's the two choices. President Trump stands for deterrence, for our allies, and for America first. Simple as that. So let's talk a little bit about that, Nick. What do you think about where we are right now and how we got here? What are your thoughts about Israel's decision to go ahead and take a preemptive strike against Iran? Do you think it was justified?
Well, I think whether it's justified or not, I think the most important thing is that the Israelis believed they needed to make it right here, right now. And what that indicates is that they have discovered through their intelligence networks that Iran is dangerously close to building a bomb. People often say, oh, they've been saying this for so long. Well, yes, but Israel often acts kinetically to make sure that timeline is very much rolled back every single time it is being reached. So I think that what we have to do is look at history when we want to understand why Israel is doing what it's doing. And so, and I know not every Republican agrees about this, but I think that your words of how you described Iran fit very well also with Russia. And so when we looked at World War II, we weren't just fighting Germany, we were also fighting Italy in the Mediterranean. And you mentioned Neville Chamberlain. His counterpart, of course, a rival, of course, was Winston Churchill. And Winston Churchill described Italy as the soft underbelly of the crocodile. It was so much weaker and technologically less capable than Germany that it was the obvious first choice to strike at the axis now that we face a new axis of evil. It is very easy to see Iran as Italy, the weaker partner of China and Russia. And not only that, but it's very interesting, and this is what I will end my thought with, that Israel seems to have a game plan of regime change that is unique. Our opposition to regime change is strong in the United States, and rightly so. Absolutely rightly so, because we try to build republics where people want Islamic theocracies. But in Iran, these people have not always been Muslim. The Persian Empire, which actually Trump mentioned, he tweeted out that if you want to save not Persia, not Iran, he said the Iranian Empire, he's tapping into a deep cultural psychology for the Iranian people. And Israel launched a message from the former crown prince, who would be the Shah of Iran, who is ready to take power where the supreme leader was. So it wouldn't even be a huge jump, a huge leap that the people would dislike, the people would hate. Israel is also striking only the Revolutionary Guard. It would be like launching ballistic missiles only at the SS. It's targeted. It's against the police and internal security forces. I think Israel knows what it's doing this time. I'm not the biggest supporter of Israel, but I am a big supporter of military strategy that works. And that's what I see Iran doing. We'll see if they can get the United States involved or if we need to get involved. That is what President Trump has the discernment to understand.
Yeah, well, I am a huge supporter of Israel because I stand with Israel against all the enemies that they're surrounded by. They are literally alone in that region.
That's undeniable.
Despite some of the Arab nations coming to their senses and are now more, shall we say, friendlier towards Israel.
Including Hezbollah has even promised they won't attack on Iran's behalf, and they're an Iranian proxy. What does that say about Iran's control?
Well, I think that indicates that they see the handwriting on the wall, which is that Iran is fixing to get their cake baked. And
that already has in a lot of cases. I mean,
yeah,
missiles right into bedrooms. This
have
is
you
precision.
seen the videos of the people mass exodus of Tehran after President Trump after President Trump urged them to evacuate?
It was a very smart thing to do now, wasn't it?
What that says to me very strongly is that the Iranian people know that President Trump means what he says, and that he's not a weakling like Biden or Obama, and that if he says that we're going to rain hell down on your head, you can bet your bippy that it's coming.
Well, exactly. And actually, as a young person who was involved in things like Model UN and international, like when I was in high school, I watched Obama do nothing, and you did too, when people were revolting in the streets. One tweet could have helped people be pushed over the edge, but Obama was silent. This could have been done in over 12 years ago, but thank goodness we have Trump and not an Obama clone.
Right. So right now, the good thing is they have taken out about 11 of their nuclear scientists. They've taken out all their top military leaders. And when they replaced one of the top leaders with another one, they took him out.
Within hours.
Within hours, yeah. So, and then I love what President Trump said. He says, "We know where your supreme leader is." And he's I don't know the words he used. I think he said he's safe for now.
For now, we know where he lives.
But we know where he lives and where he lays his head, And make no mistake that when and if the time comes, he's done. And so,
actually, it is reported, and this is not confirmed, that Trump may have vetoed Israeli decisions to strike a decapitation strike, to launch a decapitation strike against Khomeini, which is what we did for the Emperor of Japan, and that
yeah,
worked pretty well.
there's no question that the United States and Israel are copacetic in their movement, and that Netanyahu doesn't do anything without Trump's approval. So
No, but I will say it does appear that the strike itself, even though Israel informed us, did not ask our permission to do so. But they often feel like they don't need to for a lot of cases publicly. Hugo, I think you might have an insight on it, don't you?
I'm not in that camp. I firmly believe that that he consulted with Trump, and Trump probably said something along the lines, "Do what you got to do," and left the logistical part up to Netanyahu. When it comes to larger scale, uh, activity, there's no doubt in my mind that the U.S. is involved. Now, do we want as Americans to be to put boots on the ground? No, I am not in the camp of boots on the ground.
No, let's not invade Iran. It's terrible. It would be a terrible idea.
Am I in the camp of air superiority? Absolutely. I think that this B-tomb bunker busting bomb scenario should and could proceed here within the next few days.
And the alternative is an actual forever war where Israel is just bombing surface targets. So if anyone
correct.
doesn't want forever wars, then sometimes you do have to have the U.S. get involved. It's terrible.
It's like a boxer, okay? If you got your opponent on wobbly knees, you go for the kill, okay?
Yeah, and finish him.
And that's, you think Mike Tyson would sit there and wait for a guy to get his legs back?
No.
Nope. He would finish the job. And this is where I see Iran now. They're on their knees. They need to be completely taken out and let the people now start their own internal shakeup where they take their country back. And if they get rid of the mullahs, they meaning us or Israel, and clear the path for the citizens, the good citizens, to reconstruct their own government, that's the best scenario because they will be in control of their own destiny. And I have no doubt where they're going to go with that. So
exactly. And if I might make just one appeal to my friends on the far right and the far left, because I know y'all don't like Israel and stuff. For those on the far left who support Ukraine, especially, this will help Ukraine because Russia gives them ballistic missiles. They're a big ally of Russia. This would be a huge boon for them. For all my friends on the far right who don't like Israel, the idea of the Shah returning to power and an actual monarchy being restored by Israel or not, don't you think, as the kids say, that would be based? So for any of our guys who are not interested in supporting Israel in this particular action, reconsider and understand what actual strategy is.
Yeah, and I firmly believe that the end game for the people of Iran is a Western style democratic style government. They do not want to live in a theocracy. They do not want to live under the thumb of radical Islamists. And
no, did you see the statement of the Ayatollah? He made some weird religious thing. It was the craziest thing you ever read. Go and read that, folks. If you're not convinced that Iran is run by crazy people, imagine your country's bombed and your president starts like quoting random poetic scripture.
Yeah.
I know that prayer is great and everything, but maybe arm the missiles. Don't go straight to the Quran.
I think this is my own thought. I think that the supreme leader is hunkering down somewhere, saying his prayers to Allah, and hoping for 72 virgins.
He's being a bunker grandpa right now.
What he's going to find out is there are no 72 virgins, maybe 72-year-old virgins. I don't know, but it's definitely not any.
You know what they never considered, though? The 72 mother-in-laws.
and how many camels they have to give. Right? All right.
Goodness.
So I think that brings us up to snuff on the Iran-Israel conflict and how we, led by President Trump, are playing into this. So it's going to be a topic of conversation for a while, I believe. And
yeah, keep out for our shorts. Keep an eye out for our shorts for further
I'm willing to bet that before the weekend's out, something significant is going to happen in that scenario. And
yeah, that's all happened the day after the show last week, Hugo. How unfair, right? How unfair.
Yeah,
we will keep you guys informed.
They didn't consult us. What? How dare they?
No. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there, folks. With your help, folks, we'll get there.
All right. So tonight,
folks, we have Hope Scheppelman, who is in the green room, and Hugo will be back just momentarily. Now, folks, you've seen Hope before in many different roles and with many different hats. But guys, I think you'll be very excited to see what hat she is throwing into the ring. Or I guess I should say what ring she's throwing her hat into is what I should say that as. So, folks, Hugo, you're all set?
I'm here now. Here we go. They're doing it to me again.
There you go.
The gremlins are out to get me. But
see, we said we didn't consult us, and now Iran is terrified. Look what's happening here.
Yep, they must have heard me over there in Tehran. All right, so Hope Scheppelman is a wife, veteran, healthcare leader, and proud Coloradan, running to defend the heart and soul of rural Colorado. A U.S. Navy hospital corpsman turned critical care nurse practitioner. She's spent over 35 years in trauma units, rural hospitals, and on the front lines of the COVID crisis. Hope and her husband, Steve, live on their family's land in Bayfield, Colorado. That's down south, folks, down around Durango area, where they embrace the values of self-reliance, faith, and freedom. As the former vice chairwoman of the Colorado GOP, she fought for medical truth, parental rights, and the Second Amendment. Hope brings grit, compassion, and proven leadership to the fight for Colorado's 3rd Congressional District. So help us welcome in Hope Scheppelman, candidate for House District or Congressional District 3, which is the southwestern part of the state. The seat currently held by Representative Jeff Hurd, who has, let's just say, disappointed a lot of us on the conservative side. So Hope, welcome to the show. Good to have you back. How are you?
Hey guys, how are you?
Very good. Welcome back, Hope.
Thank
now that
you.
You're here, we're doing great.
Well, I definitely miss seeing you guys. So yes, I have thrown my hat into the congressional race here in CD3. So let's kind of roll back things, right? When
now, wait. One quick point. And as soon as you announce, the mudslinging started.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, it's amazing how that works always.
I know. Well, I don't follow all the social media stuff, so I've really tried to stay away from all that stuff. So
that's a smart move right there.
Yep. Here's the thing.
Please, ma'am.
I live in Bayfield. Right. I do live in Bayfield, Colorado, so that's in La Plata County. It's one of the 27 counties in the 3rd Congressional District. Right. I have lived here now in Colorado for a little over 15 years. I have traveled the world as a United States Navy hospital corpsman. I struck hospital corpsman before. So before that, I was actually undesignated. And I recommend a whole lot of people, if they don't know what rate they want to go into, go in undesignated. And you will definitely find your rate right away. With that, it taught me integrity. It taught me how, as well as I was able to find my voice. Even though there's no I in team, I was able to find my voice in the military. what I decided to do is run for the 3rd Congressional District because of a couple of things. Obviously, our current congressman is Jeff Hurd. But prior to that was Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She did an amazing job here in the 3rd Congressional District. She represented us very well, and she fought for the things that we, the people, the Coloradans here in rural Colorado, really hold true and dear to our heart. Water, land, water, and land. So those are the things that I will continue to fight for. The main reason and the straw that really broke the camel's back was when Jeff Hurd signed onto a bill with Hickenlooper and Bennett, our 2 Democrat senators, for a land grab in Gunnison County. 730,000 acres of land that is now going to be locked up, and they're going to call it a preserve. Lauren Boebert fought really hard with Halt the Dolores Monument here in the 3rd Congressional District, because we say hands off of our land, no federal overreach, nothing like that. So with the 3rd Congressional District, there's a lot of oil and gas, mineral rights, timber, mining, all that is going to be halted because of this land grab. And when Congressman Hurd ran for the 3rd Congressional District and when he won, he promised he would still represent those values. And he definitely fell back on that. And he has gone against his word that he promised we, the people. Obviously, there were more real issues attached to this as well. The one thing that really set it off was he did not support President Trump in the pardons for the January 6ers. So let's take that apart. You know, here are people that have spent 4 years in prison, hard time for a peaceful, time at the Capitol. Sure, there were some people that were not true representatives of we the people. But Jeff Hurd spoke out specifically and said he doesn't agree with the pardons.
Well, let's be
and then
clear.
the other thing that he has really gone back
I want to clarify one thing in that statement, and that is that the people who were unruly and causing the havoc were not MAGA people. There's no way you're going to convince me that those were MAGA people. You know, we still haven't heard all the story about Ray Epps and all these.
In many cases, we actually know them to be federal agents. And Hugo, I did see the glint in your eye that you wanted to mention that, and I'm glad you did.
So carry on. Yeah.
Right. And so let's talk about that too, right? President Trump's team went through thoroughly, and actually JD Vance did a wonderful interview, and he said specifically there were 1,500 pardons that they went ahead and pardoned. They definitely didn't pardon certain people. And so with that stated, you know, I was very frustrated with Jeff Hurd at that time. And I actually confronted him at Mesa County's reorganization meeting. He kind of started to backtrack and tried to explain that JD Vance definitely stands behind his decision as well, meaning Jeff Hurd's decision. And that actually is not true. I caught him in a couple of fibs in regards to that. And so that was number one. Number two was when he went against President Trump's tariffs. Look, President Trump has the ability to invoke tariffs. Definitely, there are definite guidelines that he has followed, specifically with China and Russia. I mean, let's talk about China right now. Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about the fentanyl crisis. Let's talk about the cartels that are now invading, you know, United States of America.
This is not just economic.
So when we talk, No, no. And as a critical care nurse practitioner, I have seen what fentanyl has done. And my family has been impacted by the fentanyl crisis, unfortunately. I had one of my cousin's husbands pass away due to a fentanyl overdose. And what that stated, this is personal to me. And when somebody comes out and says that they do not believe in the tariffs and they are going to challenge President Trump on that, it is personal for me. Here in Colorado, we are seeing an influx in violence. Obviously, there in Boulder County, we saw it with illegal aliens coming up and staying illegally. And with Washington, D.C., there was somebody who was there and committed acts of terror on the Jewish community there. These are people that are coming across the border illegally. And they're in LA and Portland and everything. These are the reasons I'm standing up for we the people. Jeff Hurd is very soft on the border crisis. He says he's strong. There was a text that just went out today and said he and President Trump and the GOP stand for securing the border. No, that is not true. He supports the dreamers. He supports people who are here working illegally. That is taking away jobs from Americans. For the dreamers themselves, it is taking away economic relief for our own children. So no, I believe in legal immigration. And I will stand firm on that. Anybody who has come over here illegally needs to be deported. Period.
And
Very nice.
did you get a chance to? That's the one issue. Where Hurd stands on the deportations. Is he one of those that's kind of pushing back and trying to quell the movement to deport?
Yes. So there has not been a historical statement from Congressman Jeff Hurd. But let me tell you, the things that he has been quoted specifically are he does and wants to affirm anybody who are dreamers and wants asylum, as well as those who have come over here illegally and are working. So let me ask you, these people in the LA riot, maybe they had a job, maybe they didn't. Not sure. Nobody knows. But which one of them need to be deported for committing violence? They may have had a job, they may be working, but they're working here illegally and taking away jobs from Americans. We need to be America first, and we need to look for how to grow America and really focus on here the people here in the United States, and specifically here in Colorado. You know, when we talk about not deporting and not supporting the mass deportation from President Trump, that is going against a lot of the America First agenda. And when Congressman Hurd, when I met him at the Capitol, there when President Trump was, when he was sworn in and during all of the great festivities, he promised me he said, watch my voting record. Well, here I am today saying I'm challenging you because of this land grab in Gunnison County. He did not take it to we the people. He took it to the county commissioners, 20 of them. 13 are Democrats, 5 are Republican, and 2 are unaffiliated. And he specifically stated that the Mountain Ute tribe are the ones who asked him to sign on to this bill. Well, I'm going to get down to the bottom of that and who is asking him, because we do not lock up land here. When we have land, it is our liberty to have land. And with that, we are eliminating all the recreational abilities for people to hike, to have oil and gas there. That is our bread and butter. Water rights out there, mineral rights, mining mining timber. I mean, there's so much to go through. And when you are taking away the land of we the people, I will stand up and say no more.
I'm really glad that you said that, actually, because I think, Hope, this is the central part for Coloradans. And for those who do not live in Colorado, this is central. Coloradans are very sensitive about the ownership of our land because the federal government owns quite a lot of our land. And another thing is, I want to actually shout out the Young Republicans in El Paso just for a second, because they have been talking big time about the fact that in the Big Beautiful Bill, and there is a provision to sell more land, some of which is actually elk hunting land, so very profitable for our state. We notice we're not blind to this very large scale selling out of literally our land. Then the reason that Coloradans are so sensitive about this is we only have a limited amount of our land that actually is usable. We need a lot of big tracts of it to make anything efficient. And you need what for that? Water. Where is the water? On the land. This is so central. This is a natural cycle that literally powers our state. So when you go after this or you don't defend it as a representative, you're going to get pushback, especially if you don't take it very seriously. So, if they're going to place it on the blame on the Native American tribe that we have here in Colorado, the biggest reservation, and they're not the reason really that this was called for, that's going to call a question into the congressman's integrity. This constant pressure is how you determine whether somebody, elected representative, can continue in their office. And so whatever you think of this challenge, I want to encourage Republicans to be open to challenge. We're meant to be stronger by this sort of thing.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Typically in Republican districts, there is not a primary challenge against a sitting congressman.
Yeah. And usually that's a good thing because they're good people when we elected them.
That's usually indicative that they're doing their job the way it's supposed to be done. And, I have to say, I spoke briefly with Congressman Hurd before he was elected, invited him to come on the show for an interview. He literally promised me that he would and put me in touch with his scheduler. And then they proceeded to just ignore me for the rest of the time. I followed up 3 times, and that's when
Which is very uncommon for Hispanic Patriot Podcast, I will throw out there. We almost always get accepted. I will say that being here.
Yeah, well, that to me signaled that he wasn't the person that some people in CD3 want to make him out to be. And we know the people involved in bringing this candidate. They all sit on the mantra of, well, we elected a Republican and we didn't get Fritsch. And I say, well, yeah, we elected a Republican, but not by much. And we're not much better off than if Frisch was in there. So we need strong conservative leadership in that district. So,
right. Hugo.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
And to your point, Hugo, there was a lot of, as when Congresswoman Lauren Boebert shifted district, there was a vacuum effect, and we really saw it here. There was a lot of people that jumped into this. Quite a few of them petitioned on, and then some of them went through the assembly process as we, the Republicans, really hold near and dear to our platform. And as Republicans, we believe in presenting ourselves to the people and allowing them to vote, and as I've been traveling through the district, because the moment that I announced, I have already been traveling through the district and speaking to the GOPs, speaking to the people within the community at great fairs, festivities, all these things, barbecues. And they specifically have stated Congressman Jeff Hurd never presented himself to the people. And why? Beginning, and people need to remember that. Um, however we feel about Congresswoman, she really held line here in the 3rd district, because we're different than what we are when there's like within, which is in more of an urban area. Here in Colorado, within the 3rd congressional district, the 3rd district is the largest district landmass wise. And it's for a reason. There's so many passes. There's people that are, we live a rural life for a reason. We chose that. And now when we have a representative that was challenging Congresswoman Boebert, and we all need to remember that he was challenging her specifically. And with that, he was backed by American for Prosperity. American for Prosperity, they sound like a virtuous group where they do believe in Republican values. But if you really dig deep into who they are and how they're funded by the Koch brothers, unfortunately, one of the Koch brothers has passed away prior to all of this. But Charles Koch he owns one of the largest private organizations in the world. And people need to remember that he has billions of dollars funneling through his Koch network. And I have been combing through all of that, really trying to understand who AFP is, who they represent. And one thing that really stood out is this last election year, well, also in 2026 or 2016, 2020, and 2024, American for Prosperity has stood against President Trump. And President Trump has posted on his True Social, specifically, anybody who is endorsed, funded, AFP, do not apply for his administration. And to me, I look at that as my congressman as well. If he was already backed by AFP, $1 million that you can trace back to AFP. Now, there's other ways that people have supported him through. Yes, that was the last election. So, there are definitely people that are starting to wake up about this and understand now there is a puppet there, and he is being managed by AFP. And it'll be interesting to see if AFP actually backs him again, because we are seeing this whole device, how Jeff Hurd is trying to maneuver things. I mean, right out of the gate, pushing back on the pardons of these people. I want him to speak to, the mothers and fathers and the people who have spent 4 years in prison and explain
some of the people we've interviewed on the show
what his statement meant.
So
yes, exactly.
That stands
and
out.
We have J6ers.
Exactly. Oh.
The thing that stands in stark contrast is, the old adage of follow the money. The minute that I learned that he was being backed by AFP, that was a huge red flag for me. The joke out there is that Koch is our George Soros.
It really is. No, it truly is.
And that's not far from the truth. So we also have a candidate in CD3 who that also is backed by AFP and was actually a part of AFP, but he seems to be a little bit more on the right side of things than Mr. Hurd has been. So, we're hoping to at least salvage him, and I have confidence that Mr. Crank is probably a little more amenable to coming to our side of things than Mr. Hurd would be.
I would agree with that statement. I would agree with that assessment.
I think that the thing that is revealed itself to me was the fact that he didn't have the integrity to follow through with committing to being interviewed with us. And, there's no guarantee that people should or shouldn't, interview, but at least be honest about it. I'd rather somebody tell me to my face, hey, I'm not interested in coming on your show because
and it's an integrity thing.
Exactly. I'm a big boy. I can take it. If you don't want to come on my show, guess what? I don't want you on my show.
He tells me that all the time.
I'm a Trumpist. Okay, I'm a Trumpist, and I react pretty much like President
here's the other thing within our district. So there's been a couple of I've made tons of phone calls. I've been reaching out to the 27 counties and having those discussions, right? And when Congressman Jeff Hurd was running in this district election 6 months ago, right? He didn't come to the people, didn't come to the smaller districts. He actually had big parties with big time donors, and that's not who we are here in the rural communities. We don't need another slick lawyer representing us up there. I devoted my life in health care. I'm a Catholic. The nuclear family. I speak against all this trans going on, the grooming of our children.
Mm-hmm.
I speak up about our second, what is like, I don't believe in not saying and talking about what is true in our Constitution and keeping hold of the nuclear family. Because right now what is happening the United States, and not only just in Colorado, because we definitely are ground zero for a lot of things that are happening here in Colorado, the kids, the guns, immigration. We are now a super sanctuary state because of Governor Polis and all what happened here in the state legislature last session. But you know what? I'm going to use my voice for representing the true people here in Colorado, because I don't hear Congressman Hurd talking about the grooming of our children, speaking up about, parental rights. I understand he's in specific committees, but I don't see anything like that. We asked him specifically to speak out about SB 25003. Congresswoman Boebert definitely, she is definitely fighting against the gun grabs. We don't see anything here in the 3rd District from Congressman Hurd speaking in what happened. And I know that's a state thing, but you know what? You are our representative.
I couldn't agree more with that. No, state representatives are not state representatives, of course, unambiguously, you're part of the state. But going to D.C. as a representative of Colorado, your first interest is still be your state. That's the real country that we're made of, is states, United States of America. And I just wanted to very, very quickly dispel any idea of one thing that I think might be an obvious criticism. Well, isn't this a little bit an overreaction to be primarying the guy? He's not perfect. I want to give everyone an explanation of the future danger that we're facing in the MAGA movement. We are already seeing a rift between various people within the Trump administration that are jockeying for a post-Trump MAGA. And I believe, and we've seen it before, that they will dump and purge whoever they think will not go along with their corporate interests from the MAGA movement. They will divide by generation. They will divide by however many things they can. And if we allow certain forces to be representatives, to be representing MAGA when they are actually planning for a post-MAGA, we put ourselves into a massive danger. We're already seeing this with what Elon Musk was threatening, the sort of technocracy of libertarian kind of stuff. We're seeing the far left and the far right working together with the transhumanist stuff. This is some dangerous stuff. And so the idea that we want to quash these kind of things before they get bigger than they need to be, that is not little. That is the right thing. Preventative measures is the right thing, like we talked about with Israel recently.
Yep. So, getting back to I was going to say, getting
Go
back
ahead,
to the
Hugo.
decision, what led you to make that decision to jump into this primary challenge? Because a lot of people have, said different things about your motivations and all. I want to hear from you. What, if there was one thing or two things that really just kind of pushed you over the edge and decided that this was the time uh, to start this primary challenge?
Right. So from me to your guys' viewers, here's the honest truth. When I saw Congressman Jeff at the Capitol, when during the inauguration, shook his hand, and I said, I'm going to keep an eye on your votes and what you present in bills. And I I wasn't interested in primarying him. It wasn't me who just said, I'm going to go and primary Jeff Hurd. I have had quite a few people come up to me and say, will you please? What is happening here in the 3rd district is not a representation of what we need. We need somebody who is going to stand up. I had coffee with a wonderful people, and they basically asked me to. It wasn't me. It was I after serving as your guys' vice. It was great. It was fun, a great time. Did amazing things by putting President Trump on the ballot. Fighter, right? Like, I was looking at doing something different for Colorado. And when somebody had asked me, somebody very important in my life now, they asked me, they sat me down and said, would you please run? I said to them, let me take it to my family, because I'm the type of person to challenge a sitting congressman, right? And going down the list on the things that had happened, the J6ers, the tariffs, not securing and not supporting President Trump on the mass deportation. And with that, and then this big land grab, I mean, that's huge here. And all of that culminated together. And I sat down with my family and I said, what are your guys' thoughts? And they said, go for it. I wasn't interested right away to jump into all of this, what's going to be entailing for it. All of the craziness that we dealt with already, the lawsuits, the ugliness that happened as your guys' vice chair. But if you don't, one thing that might taught us young kids while we were growing up is he was a World War II veteran. He served in Vietnam as a civil servant. He also, before he served in Vietnam as a civil servant, he went back to his hometown, Bisbee, Arizona, and worked in the mines there, the Copper Queen there, not the coal mines, but the copper mines. This man worked so hard, and I look at all of the things he sacrificed for our family, for the virtue of the American. And what he taught us as grandchildren is, if you see something wrong and you don't do anything about it, you're part of the problem. And when somebody approached me and said, would you run? And it wasn't just one person. This had been, like I said, a culmination of many counties reaching out to me and saying, Hope, will you run? And I said yes. After, many times of praying about it, sitting down with my husband, my mother, who is 70, my stepfather, who's 82, and an American Jew. And this hits home for us, all these things that are happening, within the Jewish community. So it was a culmination of a lot of things. Had nothing to do personally about Congressman Jeff Hurd. He probably is a wonderful man, but he's not the right representative for us.
All right.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's those are all good reasons. I concur with all of that, and I wanted to just let you know that we'll be following your campaign, and we'll definitely have you back on as the campaign moves along and we get into the meat of the campaign. We've got obviously some really important state races coming up and that we're going to be focusing on. And our focus is going to be on the Hispanic voters because it's clear to me that the establishment has no desire to pay any attention to that. So we're going to be paying attention to it, and we're going to try to drive as many Hispanic voters to the party as we can, and grow that base to show the powers that be that they are dead wrong in their assessment of focusing strictly on unaffiliateds. Not that unaffiliateds are unimportant, but in my opinion, my humble Hispanic opinion, they are not as important as the Hispanic vote. In my opinion, that is the savior of this party in this state. And by God, as long as I have breath, I'm going to continue to drive that nail home.
And maybe even after that, you've seen our logo. It's got a skull for a reason. Even death won't stop us.
Yeah, I will be around. So, Hope, we want to thank you for coming on.
To your point, Hugo. And to your point, Hugo, I am actually going to be focusing on the Hispanic communities. I already have an amazing campaign manager. We're really looking at those districts within our district, those counties, and we're going to have those conversations. We are going to be the first ones into those communities to have the conversations, because what we have to realize is I grew up in Southern California, and I absolutely adored how my community embraced the Hispanic community. We were all Republicans. We went to church together. I was raised Catholic. We had meals together. We went and played soccer. I was, playing soccer and went surfing and did all these great things with the Hispanic community. And now we come here in Colorado, we just have to engage them, because the Democrat Party definitely left them when they started to groom our children. The Hispanic community, as you guys know, we all believe in the nuclear family. And that is where it starts, is preserving the nuclear family, keeping moms. And
if I can give you one tip.
Go ahead.
The statistic is clear. There are 300,000 Hispanic voters that are eligible in this state who are not voting and are not registered. I would urge you in your district to go and identify as many of those as you can, get them registered, get them on our side, and let them know that there is a home for them here and that they can have a strong voice and drive whatever the party and whatever their issues are, because a lot of them are small business owners. A lot of them have kids in school, so they don't like this legislature anymore. But we need to drive home the point that without their vote, that we can't do a lot of things that need to be done. So I think that's a message that should resonate very, very strongly with all those Hispanic voters who are sitting on the sidelines right now.
100%. And if they think there's no Republicans that are Hispanic, show them show those guys us at Hispanic Patriot Podcast.
Yep. And we're going to be driving home that point. So, Hope, thank you for coming on. We'll definitely be watching, and if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. So, Hope Scheppelman, folks, congressional candidate for CD3, and we wish her the best in the primary.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Hope. Talk to you soon.
Oh, take care, ma'am.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So
great.
Now we've got to close out on this little. Just so you know, folks, there will be more from Hope.
And wasn't that a pleasant intro like that?
Yep.
You guys always appreciate seeing her.
So let's talk a little bit about the segue from our last our initial segment where we were talking about Iran and everything. Tulsi Gabbard, our Director of National Intelligence, has decided to kind of oppose our president about whether or not Iran has a Are they close to developing a nuclear weapon? President Trump believes...
Yeah, we wanted to get this in, guys, because the division within the party, it is growing based on our enemies funding it, and we want you to know all about it.
Yep. Bottom line, though, is we know the left-wing media is not going to miss an opportunity to trash or oppose President Trump. So they're going to use every little tool that they can, and now they're focusing on Tulsi and saying, see, we told you so, blah, blah, blah. I don't know where this is going to lead. I hope that she falls in line and gets with the program. But, we could see Tulsi shown the door if she doesn't comply, because the leader is President Trump, and
especially in a military sense, this is
not that he's looking for yes people, but at the same time, he's also not looking for anarchy within the party. So
obstructionists.
Remember, the bottom line about all of this is it's political theater, and don't mess with Trump.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is the theme that we want to drive home in the show, honestly, by bringing in hope, by expanding Hispanic Patriot Podcast to the larger part of the community. These things all fit together, guys. We need the Hispanic community to rise up for the Republican Party, maintain this MAGA power that we've been able to establish, so that when the establishment post-Trump people try to make their play, they see a big, beautiful bronze wall of Hispanic voters.
Yep.
That is what we need. Because, guys, you see it with Tulsi Gabbard. Did you guys see recently she put out this video decrying and being afraid of nuclear war? It wasn't an information. It wasn't a don't be scared, your government is building this Iron Dome or something. It was almost be afraid because our enemies could destroy us. That is not what we need. Trump right now is bringing us close to ending the potentiality of World War III. And people who are too scared to actually make the decisive move are being Neville Chamberlains right now. They're not seeing Donald Trump's Winston Churchill act going on, and they're not supporting it. And you know what? That is going to undermine our security more than anything else.
Right. And ironically, it was a Democrat president who said it best. He says, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
And if I might give one other FDR quote that I love, that there comes a time where we may not have to only defend our homes, but defend our very faith in humanity. And what he meant by that is when you have enemies who want to destroy the world, the peaceful world that we've created over so many wars, just so that they can relive the past, that cannot be tolerated, because those people are insane.
Yep. So we hope and pray that the rift with the president and Tulsi gets resolved.
They're under a lot of stress right now. Let's give them time. Give them time to cool off.
They didn't believe that he could reconcile with Elon, and they did. So I trust President Trump. That's all.
Reconcile. I call it making Elon come to heel. I mean, I'll be honest. Hey, sometimes people need to just calm down a little bit. Calma.
Yeah. So I want to close
Even if it takes
out.
a punch to the face.
I want to close out tonight with something that I consider really funny. And most of you heard about Senator Padilla from California, who decided to storm into Secretary Kristi Noem's
What was it,
conference.
Padilla or Payaso? Padilla or Payaso? What was it?
Padilla, Payaso.
There we go. That's what it was.
So, he storms in there, and and of course he was intercepted by the Secret Service. I thought, gently kind of ushered him out, and then, he wouldn't shut up. So they made him kneel down. And then, by God, they put him on his belly and handcuffed him. So let's watch his reaction on the Senate floor, because this is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen from a U.S. senator.
Yeah.
And I'm dead serious about that.
Compared to Jared Polis screaming on the Senate floor, I think this does take the cake on this one.
Yep. So here we go.
See tonight's Tears of a Cow. I'm so sad.
I think it's going to be Kellyanne Conway. A senator appears to cry crocodile tears. Democrat Senator Alex Padilla took to the Senate floor on Tuesday to play the victim card. This after his recent disruptive grandstanding publicity stunt that got him kicked out at Kristi Noem's presser. Watch as he recounts the moment, desperately trying to get the waterworks going.
I was forced to the ground. First on my knees, then flat on my chest.
And they put a gun to my head.
I can relate.
And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway.
And then they said, y'all not
asking,
now.
why am I being detained? Not once did they tell me why.
Oh, no.
I pray you never have a moment like this.
And then they got our soap.
Even Justice Smollett's like, boy, that guy's a drama queen. But you know what? As fun as it is to watch this man baby fake cry, the video is missing something. Maybe this will help.
I was forced to the ground. First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. Why am I being detained? Not once did they tell me why.
No, wait. We could just let him fart a lot.
I was forced to the ground. First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway.
That was just to let everybody know nothing is beneath us.
Oh my God! Is that
fantastic.
classic or what, man? That was just. So
They
great.
forced me on. Then they forced me up against a wall and said, "What kind of American are you?" I mean, really, this was beyond the pale of dramaticism. Like, guys, people get arrested every day and they get let out of jail the next day, and it's totally fine. Like the poor people that you never interact with, payasito, they go through this every day and they survive every day. And some of them have to go to a place where they get locked up. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine like one of these guys actually going to jail for their various terrible crimes?
Oh my God!
And having to deal with. They don't know what people go through. We need representatives who know what people go through.
Absolutely. All right, so that was some lighthearted humor there that we needed some levity to
after World
close out
War
the show.
and traitors and rifts and challenges and all kinds of stuff, we really needed that kind of.
Remember this, Hispanic Patriot Nation.
Exactly.
We fight, and we fight.
Literally never stop until we win.
We will never, ever give up.
And
So-
Hugo, that reminds me of a good question. Are you tired of winning yet?
Never.
There we go, Patron.
All right, folks. We're up against the clock, so we want to say a gentle good night to you, goodbye, and we will be tracking some activities here over the next few days.
Yes, actually, we have a few announcements, don't we, Hugo? We have to ask the people to
We
save the
definitely
date.
Save the date, August the 12th.
August the 12th.
Within the next week or so, you will see what that is for. So we encourage you to be aware, but save the date, August 12th. You won't be glad, or you'll be glad that you did.
You absolutely will. And one small announcement that I was asked for the young Republicans is please, if you're in areas that are affected by the land sales involved in any of these bills coming around, state or federal, call your representative, even if they're Democrats, call, because you need to protect your land. Always be protecting your land. Shout out to you guys.
Absolutely. All right. So we want to say a good night to you. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And may the Lord watch over President Trump and all our elected officials
and all of our troops.
and definitely all our troops as we navigate through these muddy waters that are ahead. But
Yes.
I have full faith in our Lord and Savior, but we also have faith in our government who is guiding them. So.
And happy to go through World War III with all of you guys. We love you very much.
Absolutely. All right. So good night for now. Watch for some shorts coming up, and we'll be in tune with the current events of the day.
Absolutely.
Take care, folks.
You expect.
Thank you for coming.